First weekends of official visits have concluded. Something interesting about this weekend, though, was it originally wasn't supposed to happen. From my understanding, the only reason we hosted official visits this week was because it was the only opportunity we could get Felix Ojo to take a visit. That just shows how high and how much they think they can land Felix Ojo. I mean, let's just start out there with Felix Ojo. 5-star offensive tackle, number 7 player in the 247 composite, number 2 offensive tackle, number 1 on 247's individual rankings. Just to start off, I have a hard time seeing him not going anywhere not named Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Texas has the most money of anyone else in the country. They just had a top 10 pick at left tackle in what's his name? Kelvin Banks. All signs say that Ojo should go to Texas, but from what I'm reading, he said it himself. If you didn't think Florida had a chance, because you look at our history, we haven't landed a 5-star offensive lineman in 11 years now. You would think Florida doesn't really have a chance here, but Ojo said it himself. If you didn't think they did, they certainly do now. And I don't see it because of Texas, but from everything that was reported, I heard really religious guy, family means a lot, and he has that family feeling with Florida. And something that has won us some recruitments. The family also really loves Florida here, and it's something that pushes Florida up to near the top of that list. He talked about his NL. He was asked about Jackson Cantwell's NIL package of the rumored $2.5 million a year for Miami. He said, hey, if that's what he's got, that's great. NIL obviously means something. It's going to be a big part of his recruitment, but it's not the only thing that matters to him. As I mentioned, feeling like he's home and development for the NFL. Something he mentioned because, hey, that $2.5 million can be great at Miami in year 1. But 7 years from now, if you get that second contract in the NFL, it's where you're making, starting left tackles. Isn't Trent Williams the highest paid left tackle? He's making over $20 million. And is he like over $20 million a year or something like that? Those NFL contracts are worth a lot more than 1-year deals in college. And you look at Florida's track record of producing 2 All-Americans here under Rob Sale and Jonathan DeCoster, both in the interior, but Austin Barber is a guy who's looking to develop as a possible first or second round pick, maybe one of the best tackles in the country. Florida can sell on production. Our O-line played really well last year, had guys go to the NFL. They have a legitimate sell here to Felix Ojo.
Yeah, and look, it's nice to see Florida's taking moonshots here, going after the best players in the class. It's nice to hear that he doesn't think NIL is everything. That's always what you want to hear when you're going toe-to-toe against Texas for a guy, because, that's a school
Absolutely.
that can basically spend what they want to for the guys they want to get. Look, to me, I don't expect this one to fall, but this would be nothing short of a coup for Billy Napier in Florida if they land this guy. That would be, I think you could argue, maybe not in terms of impact, but just in terms of what it says about the recruiting apparatus, a bigger win than getting Lagway over USC and Texas A&M and company to steal a highly coveted offensive tackle that's from Texas. Like, those guys almost always stay in state and go to Texas, or at least A&M. So if you win that battle, that's huge. We'll see. I think it's kind of a double-edged sword with guys like that. And this kind of goes for all the guys you got this weekend that are high level, kind of guys you're making up ground for. Is it good that you got them in? You got the first word in with them? Sure, because now you have the opportunity to sway them, but they're going to go visit a lot of other schools in these next couple weeks. We'll see if that remains the case, when they're 4 weeks removed from their visit, if they're still uncommitted by then. But, I think it's nice that Florida got in. It sounds like they're at least making the case and putting themselves in the running there, even though they probably still have some ground to make up.
He said that one thing Florida really was talking to him about was the opportunity to play early. Losing Austin Barber after this year, we'll see how Bryce Levette plays. There's at least going to be one tackle spot wide open. Now, we have guys that we like in Fletcher Westfall, Caden Jones. They're at and Tavares Dice maybe at that point is also contending. But you don't have that elite name, that elite high school prospect or guaranteed starter. Maybe Bryce Levette just can't play tackle and is a way better guard, and he has to move back inside. But they're really selling him on the opportunity to work his way to play early. He even said, even if it's not as a starter, just getting in the rotation would mean a lot to him. And he mentioned if Florida had a competitive NIL offer for him. So, I mean, I don't know what that means. Is it close to Texas? I don't know. Has Texas made their offer? I don't know. But it sounds like we're really trying to go out there and land this guy who would be the highest ranked recruit Billy's landed next, and rated the same as DJ Lagway, but is also an offensive lineman, which we just don't land at this level.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll just say, maybe Florida doesn't have the money to spend with the big boys in the sense that they can't give those contracts to all the top guys they're going after. But as we saw with Dallas Wilson, they can at least do it for the guys they really want to pick and choose, like the guys that they really want to make a priority. They can go and make a competitive offer. I mean, I don't know if their offer was bigger than Oregon's. It kind of seems like Oregon just sort of backed out of that bidding war eventually. But I mean, the fact of the matter is they started a bidding war with a program that has a Nike billionaire funding their NIL operation. And with Texas, it's oil billionaires. So you can do it. I mean, so they're capable of doing it. We'll see if they can make it happen for him. But like, to me, if there's a player in this cycle you're going to try to make it happen for, I feel like this one's as good as any, getting a top 10 overall offensive tackle, offensive line player, the likes of which the Gators haven't had in a really long time.
Absolutely. All right, the next big name here, one we're more likely to land than Felix Ojo. We're gonna talk about Chauncey Keenan. What is he? Is he in the? He's in the 60s on 247, isn't he?
He is. I just had it up. Hold on. Yeah, he's 68, top 10 corner.
68.
He's a number 9 corner.
Yeah, on the On3 industry rankings, he's 47th. So Rivals
247's own rankings have him as a 5-star though. 247's own rankings, he's top 30.
Yep. I mean, just a decent bump from Rivals, and he's up to a 5-star probably because he's 236 on Rivals. So, I mean, we say this about players every cycle, like, oh, this one industry would rank him a little bit higher. He would be a near 5-star level player. So you never know what will happen, but I think this is probably realistically, we're not getting Ojo until we do. This is probably the most important recruit here. You look at who else we're targeting. CJ Bruno from Nebraska. I think he's like 101st or something in the composite. High-level guy. If he's your number 2 corner, you're probably feeling great because Chauncey Keenan is that number 1 guy. You look at Florida's history of recruiting, like top 50 level players at corner. You go back to CJ Henderson and Vernon Hargraves, Kyer Elam, Jason Marshall as a freshman. There was guys that were able to Tease Tabor, they were able to compete year 1 and be top all SEC level players. And you go here, Chauncey Keenan, you get Ben Hanks. I think there's a little bit more development with Ben Hanks because of his size, or he's put a bit more weight on compared to the rest of these guys. But I think you could still see Ben Hanks get some playing time early on. But Chauncey Keenan, probably that guy again that can be that elite corner that you bring in and helps reestablishes Florida as DBU, which is a conversation we haven't had in a while for UF. But there was that talks back like 2019 prior with LSU, Florida, really battling, comparing the kids from Florida and Louisiana as like, oh yeah, this is the true DBU. And Chauncey Keenan is the guy that you want to go and get and flip it back on its toes.
Yeah, and I mean, I think different than Ojo in the sense that I'm not sure there's as much ground Florida needs to make up here, but certainly a lot of competition. When you look at the rest of his visit schedule, Miami next, and then Georgia, FSU, LSU, like these are the programs Florida's going head to head for so many guys. Like these are the ones that, if you're going to get this really turned around, these are the battles you got to start winning with some frequency and some consistency. So yeah, I think this is a huge one. Like, in terms of it being the most realistic, maybe, of the big names that were on campus this week, and also just the kind of battles Florida really needs to be winning because they haven't landed a lot of those super, super high level corners recently. Although obviously Ben Hanks this past season.
No. What's the word on him is so surprisingly, a lot of people thought Georgia and LSU were leading, but after the visit, he said that the 3 Florida schools are where he's mainly focusing right now. Florida, FSU, and Miami. He's still taking the visits to Georgia and LSU, 2 schools you can never count out. But he said he's really focusing, and the leaders are those 3 Florida schools, which I think is a really good case for us. I'm not worried about Miami, FSU right now. Any top level recruit, I have zero worry about FSU.
Yeah.
Like, they could land him. I could still expect him to flip. I mean, we saw at the end of last cycle where their class just fell apart and it wasn't elite to begin with, where they just lost anybody they had that was good. So I'm mainly worried as a Florida-Miami battle, which is a battle both teams have gotten the best of each other. Apparently, Dallas Wilson also was really looking at Miami, not just Florida, before he signed with Oregon, but then ends up going back to Florida. But it's a battle that Miami's probably gotten the better of Florida at, especially for these higher level guys. So it's not easy, but I think there's the opportunity for Florida to really go out and land that another star-studded corner that could be a 5-star player. And you look at that Florida-Miami game. Now, last year, Miami beat Florida. Florida still ended up on top in the recruiting battle. If Florida beats Miami, I think there's a good chance Florida ends up on top again, even though they lost the previous year. I think there's a good chance. I mean, I think it could be 50-50 us Miami, but I think we could end up winning this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it we'll see what role NIL plays into it, because as we've seen, Miami has no qualms about handing out some of these massive NIL contracts, whether it's to transfer portal guys like Carson Beck getting like $4 million a year or whatever, and then obviously Cantwell's reported contract is ridiculous. I don't know if I believe it completely, believe that it's that, but I'm sure it's high. So we'll see there. But I mean, I think if you're talking one-on-one for Florida Miami here, I mean, got to be feeling pretty good. And I think, we'll see whose trajectory looks a little bit better as we kind of get towards the middle of the 2025 season.
Yep. All right. Going next here. This is an interesting recruitment. Calvin Russell is in the 40s, I believe, on the composite, out of Miami Northwestern. So I heard a week ago when he planned this visit, it was something that a recruitment Florida hasn't really been a part of until this past week. But I heard that he kind of wants to leave South Florida, kind of wants to get out of Miami. Now, I'm not counting Miami out of this recruitment because players say that all the time and then end up sticking with their hometown school here. But Florida gets him on campus. I mean, top 50 player. Of course, Florida really likes him. He looks at Billy Gonzalez's recruitment history and sees a lot of, not recruitment history, but production history. A lot of success. Then you look at us bringing in Dallas Wilson, Vernell Brown. Sees an opportunity for him to really develop here at Florida. And the main schools we're looking at here, Miami. So FSU is also getting to visit. So Florida, Miami, FSU really starting to lock down those top Florida prospects. I think I know I heard Michigan. LSU may have been the 5th school. So again, I'm not too worried about Florida State. Like, if they land him, they land him. I'm not too worried until that happens. Michigan's an interesting one. Now, they have money. We saw it this past cycle when it had the number 6 recruiting class, like 3 5-stars, including offensive tackles and QB, which are the most expensive positions to pay. So they could throw a lot of money towards him. And if he wants to leave Miami and Michigan's offering that bag, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And then you look at LSU again. LSU's been really good at coming to get into Florida, getting a couple top skill position or corner players. I think there's a possible chance we could win this. I'm less confident, but I think I'm more confident now than I was a week ago.
Yeah, and I mean, also I'll say this about him. Like you said, FSU is the only other official he's currently scheduled. I mean, that seems like a good sign at this exact moment for Florida.
Yeah,
we'll see. I mean, he's got time. There's a month between them, so he's got time to fill some more in there if he wants to. Also,
he said he was going to schedule him with Miami, Michigan, and LSU. I think it was
because he unofficially visited Oregon and USC last month. I guess neither of them.
I heard a bit about Oregon. It may have been Oregon instead of LSU.
Okay.
I can't remember.
He also unofficially visited LSU in March. But yeah, I mean, we'll see here. I mean, it kind of seems like a recruitment that's still developing. I mean, high-rated player. I will say LSU already has a 5-star receiver committed, Tristan Keys, the number 3 player in the class, number 3 overall player in the class.
They have another one as well.
Yeah, true. So I forgot about him. So yeah, maybe. So you got to kind of wonder if maybe LSU is no longer as much in the running here with who they've already taken. I mean, I think this is a good opportunity for Florida. In-state guy. I mean, Florida
6'5".
Yeah, and not really Florida not really pushing for a lot of receivers in this class. Obviously a really good receiver class last year, so not as big a priority this time around. But that would be a really nice get there. And I mean, it seems like, I don't know if I want to say Florida's in the driver's seat here, but it seems like they might be in the most advantageous position.
It feels like if Florida like fully pushed him, I could really see Florida winning this battle.
Yeah.
Like I was watching his I was watching some of his huddle. 6'5", he has good speed, little bit of stiffness to him. Maybe that's something that they're not fully sold on him. Like he's a top 50 recruit. So, but it's like maybe they're not fully sold and they don't want to overspend on someone that they don't think is as good as the price tag, which is something that is a legitimate possibility and has happened with many recruits in the past. That, like, I know one Jordan Ross, who was a 5-star that went to Tennessee, that a lot of people thought Florida could easily land, but they saw more in like the hundreds, rather than like top 50, and Tennessee was willing to pay it. So it's something that I think it's not necessarily Florida might not make a full push for. And if we do, I think there's a chance Florida could really separate itself here.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to see what happens there. But I'd say this is one that I could definitely see falling if Florida wants him.
Yep. All right. Next, we'll talk about Luke Waffle out of New Jersey. I know he has I believe he has two brothers that play for Penn State. Penn State's a conceived leader. Like a week ago, he released a top 4 that didn't include Florida. And then on Friday, I think he released a top 5 that did include Florida. I don't really see us making too much noise here. Like he said, Florida made movement and they're for sure in that top 5. I kind of think the only reason we got to visit and we're in it is because his dad was roommates with Steve Spurrier Jr. at Duke. So like they're good friends and maybe convince them to come take a visit here. I don't think he's a top edge prospect on our board. So I think you have Jake Krull above him, and Jaraylin McCoy, depending on how you look at it, as an edge or an F or whatever he plays. I could see him also being considered above Luke Waffle. I just don't see us making too much here. I mean, maybe we do. We went and got Jaden Woods randomly from Penn State, who was out of Kansas. So there's a chance we go out there and pull something out, but I just don't really see it here.
Yeah, and I mean, like you mentioned, the Penn State connection, like with them in the mix here, the geography, their history with edge rushers, like it kind of seems like a pretty logical landing spot. I'm not sure I see Florida really pushing here.
And you look at the other officials: Texas, USC, Ohio State, and then Penn State. Texas, USC, and Ohio State are going to pay him whatever he wants, probably.
Yeah. Well, not USC. USC's NIL is actually kind of not great, from what I hear.
Well, they have like the number 1 class right now. They have like 26 commits or whatever. They lost the 5-star, but that goes from Georgia. He was never sticking with USC. But but Texas, Ohio State, and then Penn State being the hometown, or he's from New Jersey, isn't he?
Yeah.
Maybe not hometown, but family is everywhere in for Penn State. And you look at our current edge room and the guys we have. I mean, Jake Krull is probably that number 1 target. I already mentioned like maybe McCoy. And look at we currently have LJ McCray, former 5-star, Jaden Woods, a guy that I really like. We've seen a little bit about him. We'll see what really happens. And then, look at the guys we're currently targeting. It's like maybe they think they have a good price tag and cheaper option, maybe compared to like Krull, and they think they could land him. But I don't really see it.
Yeah.
All right. Next player, a last-minute addition here. Ekene Okpogbo from Gardner, North Carolina. Let me find his name. His brother, forgot his brother's name. Ogbo, of course. Here we go. Namadi Ogbo, who was a D lineman who went to Georgia. It was a last-minute addition. Why do I keep saying addiction? Addition. I know his brother took a visit here to UF as well. We made a little push for him. He ends up going to Georgia. Last minute, I don't know. He's number 70 in the composite, so he'd be the highest rated offensive lineman we've got since Martez Ivy still. So it'd be a big-time addition there. maybe he's a backup plan for if we have like no chance at Ojo. But again, if our backup plan is contesting with Georgia, Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama, it's going to be a very tough one. Like Waffle, I haven't heard too much about it. He couldn't really do any interviews. So I actually don't see with Ogboko.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Yeah, it just kind of like seems like one of those guys that, I mean, I don't know if Florida's in a great position for or really going to make the push for. I mean, it kind of seems like the predictions for Georgia here. Like, we'll see. Just would be nice, I guess, but I don't know if he's a top priority at this position because we've talked about some of the other interior linemen the Gators are going after in this class.
He could also be an offensive tackle, so we'll see. Mm-hmm. On 3 has him as an OT, 2% as an interior. We'll see what happens.
What's his size? 6'6", 280? 6'6". Yeah, that's a little borderline. Yeah, that could definitely be tackle.
Yeah. All right, the next player, a last-minute addition again, Carson Baker. Someone I think we have a bit more chance to get. What is he in 247? Carson Baker. On 247, I believe he's in the late 100s or
yeah, he's a like deposit. Low 100s, yeah.
So out of Fairburn, Georgia, the team I hear the most about is Ohio State. I don't know if Ohio State currently has a running back commit or anything, but or if they have other targets. But I could see us really being in the driver's seat if they have like someone higher on their board. We've taken so many running backs over the past couple of years. You look at you're going to be returning ball anyways, and you have Katie Daniels to go along with the 3 guys you got in this past class. Running back's been a weird position to where it's tough to recruit because it's going to be tough to get playing time. He said Florida definitely jumped into his top 5. Well, we got the visit, but they definitely jumped on to his who he's seriously considering. Maybe it's too early to tell really with him.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's like he's already, when you look at who he's going to visit, I mean, maybe if Florida's still in the mix after he does his Ohio State and Texas A&M visits next month, but like for now, that's what I see a visit for on June 20th on 247 for him.
Oh yeah, he's like
he has apparently. I think you can have more than 5 now. I'm pretty sure.
You're right.
Yes, because he's got a lot of visits scheduled. But I don't know if I think that South Carolina and FSU are real competitors here or contenders here. We'll see. But
yeah, I mean, we'll see.
But yeah, I mean, I think if Ohio State's really in on this one, because I looked, by the way, they do not have a running back commit. So seems like he may be one of their primary targets here. I mean, we'll see. Like kind of like you said, not necessarily a guy that was really on my radar.
Savion Hitter, I know they're going after.
Okay.
Savion Hitter. So if it's probably like if they get him, then they'll probably like move on. But if they don't, then he's probably their backup option.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, also sometimes you'll just take 2 running backs. That's not necessarily.
Yeah, that's also the case.
Yeah. So certainly something Florida's done before.
Yep. All right. Jameer Perez, we already talked about earlier in the show. He was our last commit.